Hey there folks, John here, and I mentioned this in my last video, but late last year I actually was able to acquire one of my holy grails, one of the things that I have been looking for years, ever since I was a teenager. It was one of those games that it ended up being rare because nobody really bought it at the time, and even though I wanted it, I just kind of waited until it dropped in price, but instead of dropping in price, it disappeared. Well, late last year I came across a lot that actually included this game plus a ton of other great stuff. So here we go. Okay, so like I said, this is a lot. Now, if you're thinking lot the size of that NES pickup that I did, it doesn't have 120 whatever games in it that like that thing did. This is actually a PS2 pickup, which is a little bit more modern than most of the stuff that I collect. But as you can see, I do have a little PS2 collection back there. And this is going to be a great addition to it because it has a lot of games in it that I really wanted to pick up for my collection, but wasn't really willing to pay full eBay price for. So, and then of course you have that other game that I've been searching for years, that Holy Grail, but we'll get to that at the end. To begin with, we had a PS2, which I've got right here, and it's a little dusty. I did open it up and I cleaned it. I didn't clean the outside yet. I probably should have. But anyways, it works real well. I mean, it's a PS2 though. You can get these for about $10 if you look on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So this wasn't, obviously the big pickup, but hey, it's another PS2. Also, it came with one of those cables that conforms to a bunch of different systems. So it does Xbox, and it does PlayStation, and it does looks like Wii here. Which is pretty cool, and the interesting thing about this one, this cable was apparently made by, I don't know if you can see it, but it was made by Energizer. I wasn't aware that Energizer, like the battery company, was in the process of making cables, but I guess they were back in the day. And this is one of those ones that can do component, it can do composite, or it can do S-video. So it's kind of nice if you have a bunch of systems from that era set up. You can use one of these and just switch that out in the back if you don't have a switcher. And they're honestly usually pretty cheap. So this is actually a pretty okay find for me. I mean, I do have some of these, but I'll probably pass this along to somebody that needs it. So if you need it, let me know. And then instead of power for the PS2, which is just a normal little 2-prong power cord, they actually included a Nintendo AC adapter in this box, which is kind of funny. But honestly, I would rather have this because these are hard to find, and this one does work. A lot of times if you find these, they're burnt out and they just don't work at all, and you have to use a third-party one like a Retrobit. Retroversal, I think, is one of the popular ones. But anyways, yeah, this is an original NES AC adapter, so I was actually kind of excited to see this when I saw the box, even though it's not obviously the power cord that went with the PS2. This one's better because it's harder to find. And then obviously you have the PS2 controller. This is actually the transparent smoke gray edition, which I actually didn't have a smoke controller, so I may just keep this one around just for fun. And now we're going to get to the games. Now, there's a couple in here that are sports games and stuff. I'm going to do those first. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of sports games. Usually those are the kind that I just give away or I just throw in with systems that maybe I'm selling on Facebook Marketplace or whatever. And I don't really charge for them. I just kind of give them away because I'm not really super into sports games, and I know some people do like them. First of all, we've got World Tour Soccer 2006 and Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2006. Now these are as sports games get, and I just really have no interest in them, but hey, they're here and they're complete. They have manuals and discs and in them, and yeah, I mean, they're in good condition. Next, you've got 2 wrestling games. You've got SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 and SmackDown Just Bring It. Now, this may surprise some of you. For people that have watched the channel for a while, I think I may have mentioned this before, but I know a lot of people in the retro community really love wrestling. It was popular around the time that the NES and the Super Nintendo were popular, and I know that wrestling is still a relatively popular thing, but I feel like I'm kind of an oddity in the retro community because I really have no interest in wrestling, and I never really did, and I don't have a problem with it, and hearing people talk about it, it sounds interesting, but I just never got into it. So these two, I've heard people talk about the wrestling games on the PS2, before, and it seems like they're well liked, but I really have no context for these. I just have, again, not really into wrestling, never really played the games. But anyway, here they are. These things also, I think one of them had the manual, and then I think the other one doesn't, if I remember right. Yeah, so, you know, not too bad. Again, not really worth that much, but hey, wrestling. Next we have some of our commons. We have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and I feel like this is with every single PS2 pickup that I ever get. I don't know why. I guess it was just really popular with kids that saw a bad movie. I don't know. You have Fairly Odd Parents, and actually I think this is probably an uncommon, but I think there's probably few enough people that really would have bought it, or it would have been a kid's game, that it's not really all that valuable. But anyway, yeah, Fairly Odd Parents, breaking the rules, excuse me. Fairly Odd Parents was kind of after my time. I was in high school, I think, when this came out, and so I wasn't really the target audience for it. But anyway, you know, it's there. It has the manual and everything too. And then we've got the two Kingdom Hearts games, another two games that seem to be with just about every PlayStation pickup I ever pick up. These are the greatest hits versions. There's really not much price difference between the regular and the greatest hits, so either one's fine. I think one of them, Kingdom Hearts 2 has the manual and disc. Kingdom Hearts 1, I think, only has the disc. So, again, these are duplicates for me. I think I probably have like 4 of each of these, so you know. And then you have Final Fantasy X-2, which has the manual and the disc, and all these discs are in actually really good condition. This came from somebody that knew how to take care of their stuff, no kids or whatever. But I do want to point out something on this Final Fantasy X-2. If you look, you'll see water damage back here, and I'll try to zoom in on it here so you can see it. And I want you to remember that, because that's going to be a little bit of a theme with this pickup. Fortunately, not one that completely spoiled it, but yeah, this in the pictures it didn't show any of the water damage, so that was a surprise when I went to pick it up. But again, just a little bit on this one. And while we're on the Final Fantasy kick, we have a Final Fantasy 12 that has super water damage. You can barely tell what it is. Fortunately, the title is still clear, in a generic case with just the disc. So not much to say about this one. Final Fantasy 12, again, pretty common game. Now we get to, there's 2 racing games in here. There's Gran Turismo 3, which, again, this is a greatest hits version, and this is one of the most common PS2 games around. It's a good game. It's not bad. I'm not a huge fan of racing games. I mean, I do play them casually, but I don't play them for very long. Unless it's a kart racer where I can actually shoot people. The other one in here, though, is Ford Racing 2, and this one's not bad. I haven't really played this one before. I hadn't really heard of it much. It's kind of uncommon, I guess, but not uncommon to the point where it would actually be valuable. But it is an interesting one to see, because, again, I had never seen it before. And it does have the disc and the manual. It looks kind of like it's brand new. It doesn't really look like it's ever been played. So there is that. And then we're past the sports and the racing games. So we have Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and this is the special edition, whatever that means, because it has a... I'll turn it so you can see it. Wait for it. There we go. It has a special edition disc. I don't know what's on the special edition disc, but something's on the special edition disc. Next is one that I had never heard of. It's called Jurassic the Hunted. It looks pretty cool from the back, so I think it's going to be worth a playthrough. Or if not a playthrough, at least an hour or so trying it out, and see how it is. So anyway, any game with dinosaurs is a winner in my book. Next you have Thrillville, Off the Rails, and this is kind of, if you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon, it's not really Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's kind of got some Sims elements in it. It's got a roller coaster theme parky type building thing in it. And it's kind of an interesting one. And then you have Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is, again, one of the ones that's really common. I get it with most PS2 lots that I pick up and then turn it around right away. Transformers the game, not much to say about this one. It didn't get great reviews. It does have the manual and the disc. And then we have Scooby-Doo Night of a Thousand Frights, which for some reason is a greatest hits title. I mean, I do see a lot of these around, so obviously it was popular, but I'm not really sure why. When the PS2 was around, Scooby-Doo, I thought, anyway, was way past its prime. I didn't know anybody was really interested in Scooby-Doo anymore, but I guess maybe it's a good kids game. So I'm kind of curious. I may just throw this in the PS2 because I've never had a copy of it before, but yeah, so no manual in this one either. And next we have one that I was actually kind of excited about. It's not a valuable game, but it is kind of one of the lesser known. It's actually called Samurai Warriors, and this is from the Dynasty Warriors series. So I was kind of excited about that because I do like the Dynasty Warriors series in small doses, but then I opened it up And even though it's got the manual, this is actually a disc for Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2, which I do love Dance Dance Revolution, don't get me wrong. I used to play a ton in high school and college, but I'm less excited about Dance Dance Revolution than I would have been about this one. So next we have Gauntlet 7 Sorrows. Now I love the Gauntlet series, and I did skip this one, but I hear that this one's actually not that great. If I'm wrong about that, tell me and in the comments, and maybe I'll give it a shot. But you know, I'm not probably going to do much with this one just because the reviews on it aren't amazing. Next we have Persona 3 and Persona, I don't know how that's pronounced, but anyways, Persona 3 and Persona 4. Now I've never gotten into the Persona games, which is kind of weird because in high school and college I was like super into RPGs, and then after I graduated from college and started working and everything else, I kind of fell off the RPG bandwagon. I'm still working on the original Xenoblade Chronicles. I got it about 6 months after it came out, if that tells you anything. I am almost done with that one though. And then we start getting to the stuff that I was actually excited about. When I saw it in the picture, I was like, okay, I need to go and get this. And so I messaged the guy right away. First of all, this one's not valuable probably, but it's valuable to me. And this is Armored Core Last Raven, and I absolutely love the Armored Core series. If you're not familiar with it, it's From Software is the company that makes it. And they haven't really made one in a while, I don't think. It's a mech combat game with just like super crazy amounts of customization for your mech. And this is one of those ones that I just absolutely love this series, and this is the only one in the series that I didn't have. So this was great to complete that collection. Next we've got 2 of the PS2 Castlevania games. Now I love Castlevania, but I for some reason I skipped over the PS2 ones. Maybe they didn't get good reviews back in the day, but I'm really happy to have these in the collection. And I do believe both of these are complete with manual and disc. So pretty excited about those, and I will definitely be giving those a playthrough. So we got Castlevania Curse of Darkness and Castlevania Lament of Innocence. Next, we've got one that I kept meaning to pick up, and just never did. Even back in the day, I kept meaning to pick it up, and then eventually I just kind of forgot about it. And that is Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus. And this is all about Vincent Valentine, and it's kind of a Final Fantasy Devil May Cry, if you will, or at least what Devil May Cry used to be. And it was part of that push that Square Enix made, where they kind of tried to revive Final Fantasy VII and then do a bunch of spin-off stuff. That's when Final Fantasy Advent Children came out as well. It was around that same time. They were really trying to revive that brand. And then they made this game that starred Vincent, and it was basically had Devil May Cry gameplay. So pretty excited about this one. I've never played through it. I did rent it one time when I was younger, and I ended up really liking it. So I'm excited to return to it and see what it has to offer. Now, there is an RPG series on the PS2 that mimics what it would be like to have an MMORPG experience, but as a single-player experience. And it's really interesting because it's this transmedia storytelling experience where you have a story being told in an anime and you have a story being told in a game, and all of that stuff, they interact with each other, and you have the real-world story being told in the anime and the in-game story being told in the game. And in order to get the entire full picture, you have to actually watch the anime and play the game, and you need to play them in order with each other so you get everything chronologically. It's this really interesting experience because it kind of feels a little bit like what an ARG would have been back in the early 2000s with a series that is something that you physically watch and then something that you physically play, and they both tie into each other. And it's actually a really, really cool series. The first 3 of these games that I'm going to point out are the 3 .hack GU games, and I've actually got these backwards. And this is actually the second .hack series to come out on the PS2. They actually did like a remaster of this on the PS4. It's called .hack GU Last Recode, I think. So I never really got into the .hack GU games. That was kind of after I kind of fell off the bandwagon. But these are nice because altogether, if these 3 are complete, they sell for anywhere between $80 and $100 on eBay. Just if you sell them as a lot. Most of them they get sold together. Now, unfortunately for this one, while the first one doesn't have the manual, and the second one doesn't have the manual, but the third one does have the manual, and the third one is the manual that's the hardest one to find. So Not great that it's missing the manuals, or the first two are missing the manuals, but if one of them's going to have the manual, I'd rather it be the third one. And that brings me to the final pickup. Now, again, this is something that I've been looking for a really long time. Back here, I have the first DVD of that that started .hack. This is .hack Sign. This is the original first series, and this was the prequel to the game that I'm about to show you guys. When they released the game, they also included DVDs that continued this story in the games. And so one of these DVDs was packaged with each of the games in the series, and it's really tough to find the games with the DVDs. Because people would take the DVDs out and watch them in the DVD player and keep them in like DVD cases with their DVD collection and keep the game with their game collection. So the DVD disc would end up getting separated from the actual game. So to find these things in complete condition was really pretty impressive. The first one is called .hack Infection, and you can see it's got .hack Liminality, which is the first disc, or the first DVD, and then it's got the game. And obviously there's no manual. That one wasn't a problem for me because I have the original, because I was into .hack at the time, and I bought this on launch day. This wasn't a problem. And then they also had .hack Mutation, which is the second one, which again, I'm not going to pull it out again, but that one I did have as well. And these are the two most common ones. And this one, you have .hack Liminality, and apparently this was a Blockbuster game, which makes it even more amazing that the DVD survived. But you have the DVD and the game, which is great. But again, these two are actually relatively common, and by relatively common, I mean they're both of these are pretty uncommon, but compared to the last two in the series, it's not too hard to find them. However, this is what I saw in the picture that I was like, wow, I've got to contact this guy right now and get this system. And I think I contacted him at 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, how early in the morning can you meet? And we ended up meeting at 7 a.m. before we had to go to work, because I didn't want anybody else to see this and to recognize what it was before I was able to get to it. Again, since it was a holy grail, and I've been searching for it for forever. So number 3 is .hack Outbreak, which again, this one I didn't have. This one is complete with the manual, with the disc, with no Blockbuster sticker on it, and the DVD. And then lastly, I saw in the picture .hack Quarantine. Now, if you'll notice, this has the worst water damage of any, well, maybe not worse than that Final Fantasy 12, but has some of the worst water damage of anything in that pickup, which is a crying shame. Now, that said, it was in a generic case. Obviously, there's no PlayStation logo on this thing, and with this generic thing, it was in this generic case with the DVD, and it did have the game. So at least the media was there. Unfortunately, the insert was completely ruined, and I couldn't use it. But here's what I was able to do. If you see something like this, something that's a holy grail, like this game alone sells for well north of $100 on eBay, complete. Okay. I mean, $100 is kind of a low number for this game. This is one of those ones you grab in whatever condition that it's in. Because what you can do is you can take the game, and as long as the game and the disc are there, you can go on eBay and you can buy the case and the manual to complete your game. Like so. And so what I was able to do is go onto eBay and buy this case and manual, which are in really good shape, for about $30, I think I paid. I may have paid like 27, 28, something like that. So I was able to get this game complete that, I, again, have been looking for years for less than I would have paid if I had paid for it new back in the day. If you're not familiar with the .hack series, it is a really, really cool series to get into. Now, it is a deep dive because you have 4 really long RPGs, and then you have like 3 animes that you need to watch. And then you have 3 more deep RPGs that you need to do with the .hack GU series. It's a commitment. But if you get into it, it's actually a really cool series, and I highly recommend it. So part of the purpose of this channel is I like to talk to you guys about not only just showing you, hey, look what I got, it's so cool, but also how you guys can kind of collect retro games on the cheap. without actually breaking the bank. And later this month, I'm planning on doing an in-depth video on how you can collect without completely breaking the bank, but just giving you an idea. I always like to do a cost breakdown of my big pickups like this. This was a lot, and there's about 30 games in here, plus the PS2, and I think there's actually exactly 33 games in here, plus the PS2, plus the cables, everything else. Now, I paid $100 for this box, and the over-under is that basically I can take these 3 games if I want, because these ones aren't actually super important to me. And I can make most of that $100 back by just selling these 3 games for under market value. Because again, I try not to ever sell anything for exactly market value. I don't like to be one of those people that's actually inflating the price of games. But I'm able to flip most of these, or these 3, for almost the full purchase price of what I got. And when you break down $100 with 33 games, and I'm not even going to count the system, because again, PS2s are like $10. That's like $3 a game. So if you add that up for my Dot Hack Quarantine, that means I paid $33 to get this game complete, like it was new in the store, when it was $50, you know, MSRP. And it's what goes for way more than that online. I paid 33 bucks for one of my Holy Grails. So that's kind of how I collect on the cheap, or at least one of the ways. So if that's a useful piece of information to you, I mean, I know $100 is a lot of money, and I didn't start out buying lots like this. I kind of had to build my way up. So if you're interested in kind of how I did that, what the story is, and kind of where I started with this, check out that video that I'm going to release here later this month, because it might be interesting to you and it might help you out. And that's about all I got for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Again, I was super stoked to find this, and I'm just really glad I was able to, and glad I was able to share it with you guys. So like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I will see you guys next time.